Welcome to this panel discussion on women in cinema. This is the first in a three-part series organized by ARRA Arts in Toronto and Indian Consul General of Canada. My name is Ramachandran. I'm an international correspondent at large for Variety, mainly covering South Asia and the UK. And I'm very pleased to have with us three of India's eminent filmmakers, Ashwiny, Iyer, Tiwari, Leena, Yadav, and Tannishtha Chatterjee. This is obviously part of the Toronto International Film Festival 2020, which for obvious coronavirus-related reasons is a hybrid model this year. The first question is for Anu Srivastava of ARRA Arts. Hi Anu, what inspired you to start this Women in Cinema initiative and make it part of the Toronto International Film Festival 2020?
Thank you, Naman. Hello, everyone, and welcome to ARRA Arts Women in Cinema with the support of the Consulate General of India in Toronto. To answer your question, Naman, the main objective of ARRA Arts is to encourage arts as a means of social, cultural, and economic development, not only in Toronto, but in Ontario and in Canada. I wanted to do something that had not been done before for South Asian women's outreach, and more so for the larger global audience. Subsequently, I had the opportunity to meet Honorable Apurva Srivastava, who is the Consul General of India in Toronto, and she immediately supported my idea. And together we conceptualized the Women in Cinema series, which is a three-part segment, and it is going to be launched in Tiff Festival 2020. I mean, it has been truly exciting to meet such amazing and well-known personalities like Ashwiny, Iyer, Tiwari, like Leena, Yadav, Tannishtha, Chatterjee, Ramachandran. So Naman, I hope I've answered your question, and thank you so much.
The next question is for the Consul General of India. Hello, ma'am. Thank you for supporting this initiative. What made the consulate decide to support this Women in Cinema initiative?
Namaskar. It's my great pleasure to be part of Women in Cinema series conceptualized by ARRA Arts and which is being launched at the prestigious Toronto International Film Festival. We agreed to partner with this series immediately for basically two reasons. First, women directors bring in a perspective which is fresh and unexplored. They bring in the women's point of view in the narration of the story. So I was really keen to be part of it. And secondly, it totally aligns with the objective of Tiff to increase participation, skills and opportunities for women behind and in front of camera.
This panel is about women in cinema. And the underpinning theme of this panel is empowering women in cinema. And obviously the panelists here have gone far beyond gender, because in today's world, gender should not mean anything. It's only talent. But you have had some amusing experiences in the past with some assistant directors. I believe all of you have had. So can we start with you, Leena, and can you walk us through some of your experiences?
Oh, I've had lots of amusing experiences, but this was on my last film, Rajma, Chawal, where my first AD, who's male, was looking for a second AD. And so he was making a lot of calls. So there's one particular second AD who called him and he said, actually I worked with two female directors and okay, I think a third one will look really good on my bio. But just tell me something, does she know her job or do we have to do everything like usual? That was really amusing.
And what was your response?
Oh, I didn't have to take that call. I said, you must call him and I really want to meet this guy.
Yeah, so I kind of had two experiences is because at a time, I think this was about 2015 when I had made my first film, which was Nil Bate Sannatta, the new classmate internationally. And we were trying to shoot in a place which was not used to seeing cinema shooting, which was ARRA. And it was kind of very difficult to make people understand, especially the local production people, that, it is okay to take orders from a woman, because they were not used to. So they would never used to see you in the eye, you know. So they would be talking like this. So they'll say, "Okay, sir, catchy, what do you want?" And I would say, "I'm here. Can you please talk to me? Why are you talking to my associate or anyone else? Where I'm the one who very clearly knows what I need to do." And then there was a used to calling sir instead of madam. Even if they call me by name, I really don't care. But the the intrinsic thing was to like say, "Sir, हाँ sir, आपको what do you want? You know what क्या चाहिए आपको?" So kind of little difficult, but then after a point they had no option. They had to listen to me. They had to see my face every day. And by the time the shoot got over, they got used to the whole thing, that you know it's okay to see a woman around and boss around there. And she knows her job, so better listen to her, is because she can be loving, but when she has to make a point, she will make a point, and then no one is going to be spared. So the second time I went for my second film, I went the same line producers. They got used to the whole idea. But then here I had another problem, that I was shooting again in Uttar Pradesh, which is one part of the country, northern UP, northern India. And there it was funny, is because we were doing a night shoot, and my assistant director, who is a girl, I like getting a lot of girls into the team. She was told to sit in the corner. And I asked why. I take a lot of interest in my ADs, you know, because I want to know what they're doing also. It's just not about interacting with your first and just being there. And she was sitting there and she was feeling very sad. And I asked her, "What happened? Why are you sitting here?" And she told me that I'm not allowed to go on the road there, is because they think it's not safe. I said, "You're picking up right now and going. You can safeguard yourself. You know how to do karate. If anyone does something, just give the one back. It's okay." So I think it's up to us to see how do you look at the person. But then the change happened, is that the same production person in the end of the shoot of my second film came and told me that his daughter is very interested in direction. So can she assist?
And Tannishtha, obviously, you've had experiences on both sides of the camera.
Yes.
One as a renowned actor and the other now as a director with Rom Rom Mein. So do you have any similar experiences?
Well, in Rome, there was nothing like that. You know, my assistants were all my friends, and I've worked with them in other films. And we had a very sort of dominating women's unit as well. My DOP was a woman. My assistant from Italy and casting director, she was a woman, costume designer. So it was a very mixed team. So while making Rome, I never had any issues of gender. I didn't even think. But yes, while acting, there are many experiences where I've overheard things. And one was quite blasphemous, because there was a male first AD who was very irritated with his second. And throughout the film, they would be bickering. And then one day I heard him like scream at the third, saying that, you know, matlab, if that guy was not a girl, I would have like sweared, and I can't do that because she's a girl, and she's like, it is because she's a woman that she has these excuses, and she'll come and cry to me, and I can't do anything. And, you know, from the next time, I'm never taking a second who's a woman. So these kind of things, like, I have heard while filming, and that was one film, I don't remember which one it was, but I distinctly remember it was shooting in Rajasthan. I've shot so many films in Rajasthan that it kind of overlaps. I actually intervened because the director was not there at that point of time, and I heard this, and I was like, it's crazy what you're talking about. Like, how can you be like this? Like, how can you even say these things in today's time? Like, you're a modern guy. And then you say, "Nee, ma'am, you know, I'm so sorry, but it is just like, it is true. Girls, you know, they should do certain kind of jobs."
Clearly, the three of you are not doing those kind of jobs, and thank God for that.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, you know, "Ma'am, but you have to understand, we do a very stressful job. So sometimes, you know, we have to be on time. We have to do these things. You know, she's just answered that you can say that she's not efficient in her work, but it has nothing to do with gender, because I have worked with many assistants who are extremely efficient. So don't sort of equate it with gender.
I think we're transitioning from
Yeah.
reacting to gender to reacting to individuals. We are still transitioning, and that's because there's such solid conditioning. There is. I think half the times people say things which they don't necessarily mean. It's not necessarily a belief system, but it's just said.
Yeah. Yeah, so the funny part is that, taking from where Tannishtha is saying, is that the funny part is that in one of my shoots, I think my assistant AD took a one-day break because she had a really stomach cramps. Her period was on, and so one of the guys, just it's like just to put a thing there that, oh, you know what, like she has a cramp, so she can't do it. Maybe then you should take up this thing, and I was like, it's a very natural thing. So, if her stomach is paining and she needs to be there, I can still take meds and I can just be there because I'm far more mature and old enough to understand these things. But if she can't handle it for one day, you need to give her a break. And what if something happens to you tomorrow, And the same thing happened is that they ate a lot or something and his stomach got upset. So he could not come to the shoot. So, the equation, it is like what Leena is saying, is that it's just the way you see it. It's not more about the gender. It's about the individual. And because she happens to be a woman, it's like, okay, let me just pinpoint what are the things. And talking about discipline and timelines and everything, I think women are far more efficient.
I completely agree.
I love because they're so efficient, they can be over efficient sometimes.
So that brings us neatly to my next question, which is, a lot of people talk about barriers to entry in the film industry. So I prefer not to look at it that way. Let's look at what are the opportunities for women to enter the film industry behind the camera, not in front of the camera. So the three of you are based in Mumbai. Sticking to the Mumbai film industry, what are the opportunities? Like, I'm a woman wanting to make it in the film industry. What kind of opportunities do I have to have going in? Any of you can take this.
Actually, I think there's so much competition now that there's so many people wanting jobs there, and because also we've gotten out of only medicine and engineering being the two opportunities, where people are exploring, and there's so much more awareness that there's so much competition that I think decisions are now beyond gender. You have to be really, really talented, and this holds for women and men both. It's really difficult getting in, but people who get in are good, at one basic level. Obviously, there are still people, kind of figuring out their conditioning and having these biases. But I think the world has really moved so far beyond that if they're going to be left really far behind. So you need to be good at your job, and I think gender stops mattering.
I'll just go back a little. I did my commercial arts from Sophia Polytechnic in Bombay, and I grew up in a household of professors, IT professors and teachers, and typical South Indian. So it was like, you need to study and you need to get a job somewhere which is like proper. And so arts and something was not even in the bylines of having a career. But then advertising was something which was always known because of the kind of persona it had. Then when you moved on, so there were a lot of women in advertising, in the creative side, or it was journalism, because the two products were like, there were a lot of women out there and they were known jobs or known studies, you could say. Then when we talked about movies, from the time that it is a different field and we do not know anything about it, what I'm really happy is that there were a whole lot of schools which emerged in the last 5 to 7 years, I would say, which opened up to a whole lot of youth, saying that filmmaking, media is an option to consider. So,
name some of those schools.
so the names of the schools would be, of course, NID, Institute of Fashion, Film has always been there. Film Institute has always been there, NID has always been there. But then there is this Pearl Academy in Pune. Then there's Shrishti School of Design in Bangalore. Then
Iyer in Bombay.
there are big public publishing houses like Times of India have the Benetton College, or so there are these various colleges who are encouraging and aspiring youth of India to take up courses. So when the course becomes legitimate is when parents feel, okay, here is something which is for, you can go become an anchor, a news channel, you can take up media studies, you can take up filmmaking, you can take up writing, you can take up screen editing. So of course, Whistling Woods, which is one of the pioneers who has opened up the whole aspect of that you can educate yourself with filmmaking and then become a part. So a lot of assistant directors are from Whistling Woods who have come in. So I think that's the big change which has happened in India, where a lot of girls and boys from various diverse backgrounds are joining colleges and schools which teach filmmaking as a course.
And in your experience, does the industry recognize these courses?
I have a lot of ADs who come from Whistling Woods and who come from various colleges who have done their courses and then come. So a lot of kids who have done mass communication, who in mass communication there is filmmaking which becomes a part of the course, writing becomes a part of the course. So then they enter as assistant directors. So yes, I have seen that. And now also it's opened up even more is because first writing was a very individual job. Like, and you didn't have any course or something. Now you have courses for screenplay writing, which is good, is because at least you know how your structure, you know your basics. You learn your basics for 3 years. And then when you pitch, with the opening of OTT platforms and so much of stories being told, there are senior writers who hire junior writers. So there is a writer's room. So yes, there is a lot of discipline which has come into the whole scope of filmmaking and writing. And also because with the entry of studios and with the OTT platforms and learning from Hollywood per se, we can see that there is a kind of little discipline which has come into the system.
I will just differ with you on one thing. I don't think we have a good film school in India at all. I don't think there is a single film school which is, especially I find that in writing the most. I find it so lacking, whether it's discipline or the grammar or anything. So honestly, saying whether the industry recognizes these schools, I think it's a very individual kind of a thing. If I have to hire, I don't care whether a person has done a course or a filmmaking degree or anything. It's more the passion or sometimes with the past experience or something which kind of this thing. I really, really hope we have better schools for filmmaking in India. We don't right now.
I think, FTII and Whistling Woods, I mean, I have met many people behind the camera, not necessarily writing. I think writing is it's a field that we still need to really work on. But all other technical aspects and, generally the knowledge of what they come with as far as filmmaking is concerned, I think many people who come out of these two institutes, in my experience, do have a discipline. Like right now I'm working on 4 more shots please, and there are a bunch of people who come from these institutes, and I see the difference. I see that yes, they know cinema, they know they have a passion for it, and therefore they work hard, they have a discipline. I would like to agree with Leena as far as writing is concerned. I think it's extremely difficult to find good writers, and a lot of times Therefore, as storytellers, we tend to write it ourselves. And sometimes we are ourselves not the best skilled for it. We might have, other skills, but I think we need better writers. We need writers who, I mean, as an actor also, I have been bombarded with scripts sometimes where the ideas are fantastic. And when I hear a narration of the idea, it really excites me. The synopsis really excites me. But when I read the screenplay, I don't see any of that on paper. I'm like, yes, I heard all these things about the character, but where is it on paper? Like, I don't see any of it. You've shown me a backstory, but that doesn't give me any layering as an actor to perform in the character. One sentence in a dialogue saying that, oh, this happened to her, does not give me all that you're talking about. So I think, I mean, I have seen this many times when I read screenplays, that yes, there are beautiful ideas, there are beautiful stories, but the skill of actually bringing them in a skillful way where it impacts me, it's still rare. I mean, having said that, of course, there are many people who are able to do that, but we need many more, and younger writers.
Thank you. So there's a reason why I did not do a formal introduction saying, oh, this is Ashwiny, Iyer, Tiwari, this is Leena, Yadav, Tannishtha, Chatterjee, and this is XYZ, this is what they have done, this is their CV. Simply because I just wanted to pinpoint some individual projects that you have done, which is in keeping with the theme of this discussion. So, which is basically the empowerment of women. Now, Ashwini, you in particular, I'm just going back to, you mentioned Nilbate Sanata, which was remade in Tamil and in Malayalam. And I think I'm one of the few people who have seen all three versions and enjoyed all of them. Though my personal favorite from a performance point of view would be the Malayalam one, because she's so good. Now, my question is, obviously, when you, or it may not be obvious, when you started out writing this, you wanted to tell a story first, and then then it became an empowerment story, or did you start off by wanting to write an empowerment story and then it became what it is?
I would say that I'd started off as wanting to write an empowerment story is because I had spent enough time in advertising, telling stories for various brands, and the idea of empowering came from writing an ad film of about 45 seconds for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which is called Banega Crorepati in India, hosted by Mr. Bachchan. And there was one commercial which the client had very specifically asked me for, that let's do something which empowers women. And this I'm talking about 2013, yeah. And I was in my head saying, oh yeah, we need to specifically talk to women now to empower them. And that's how the whole idea of the campaign came in, where the girl in the end, Mr. Bachchan is asking the girl that, what do you want to tell the country? And she says that, in Hindi, I would say, Mubarak ho ladki hui hai. It's basically, congratulations, you got a girl, So celebrating the girl child. And it was resonating so much. In my head, I said that if a 45-seconder can resonate so much, then what if I make a film? I need to make a film which can empower so many audiences out there, because cinema has the effect, the after effect, I would say the chain effect of empowering people some way, the afterthought. And that's how Nilbate Sanata happened. Yeah, that's how the new classmate happened.
And
but the only thing there was that I was very clear that the communication, sorry, I'm using the advertising word. So what I wanted to say was had to be light, cannot be something which is very boring, is because already you're telling women that, and inspiring a lot of men to inspire women to go and study and to educate themselves. And also I wanted to talk about a very, very important aspect, that no matter who you are or where you come from, you have the right to dream. You have the right to dream, and you can move forward. And for me, that was very important. That doesn't matter who you are, what age you are at, you have the right to dream.
And for those who are not familiar with the film, you should be ashamed of yourself. Watch it immediately. But it really empowers this older woman who goes back to school in order to inspire her daughter to do well in her studies. And the one thing I liked the most in the Malayalam film was that the figure that they look up to, is a woman collector.
Yeah.
So would you have done that if you got the opportunity to reprise the film 10 years down the line?
Uh, uh, so when I was making this film, there were not many women collectors in UP, and it was important that I stay true to the milieu of what I'm seeing there. And for me, the mother going to a male IAS officer and checking with him that what it is to become an IAS for her daughter was even more inspiring, versus in the Malayalam film, because of the higher rate of education in Kerala,
Yeah.
you can see that they're used to seeing a whole lot of women in government jobs as IAS, as decision making humans, So versus even in the Tamil film in Amma Kanukku, I saw that the strike rate of men being IAS is more than the women there.
True.
Oh, but then it was very funny is that in Lucknow, um, the IAS, his wife was posted somewhere far away in UP only, but she was also an IAS. So that
Yeah.
opened up is because she told me that not many women are IAS, and it's important that we tell that there can be a whole lot of women who can apply for the entrance exams and still go and become IPS, IAS, and serve the
So
nation.
for our international audience who don't know the abbreviations, IAS is the Indian Administrative Service, which millions of people write the examinations for, and basically 0.001% of the population become that. It's basically the top civil service jobs in the country. And the IPS is the Indian Police Service, and the IFS is the Indian Foreign Service, and so on. Moving on to Leena, going back to, you mentioned about Rajma Chawal, but going back to Parched. Now, Parched had its world premiere at Toronto, right?
Yes.
So, Parched, without giving anything away, it basically follows some incredibly powerful women, including Tannishtha, who's with us, who break the shackles of patriarchy and forge a new identity for themselves. So, again, I ask you the question I asked Ashwini. Did you set out to write an empowerment story?
Not really. Actually, we started out, in fact, Tannishtha was part of the process of developing this film. We actually wanted to blow the pants of Sex in the City by making Sex in the Village. So that's where it started. But then, Tannishtha and I traveled a lot. We had lots of conversations, and some much more deeper themes came into the film. But I think that lighter note, it's still maintained because the initial intention was that to have more honest and unfiltered conversations about sex, which I think is a huge, huge deal, which our country really, really needs to do. Because even while making the film, at a constant basis, we were scripting the film, because we were refused. Wherever I would go to the villages to get permission, they would refuse permission because I was a woman, saying our women will get corrupt looking at you. So, and then a big revelation for me that, because I also thought education is going to come and change the world, but the more educated, the younger generation were the ones who were more aggressive. So, so then coming to the deeper rooted problem of conditioning. So Yeah, I mean, I started off wanting to make Sex in the Village, but then I think Parched just took its own life, and it started leading us more than, me leading the film. It just had to be told, and a lot of themes came into the film which were necessary to be discussed. But it still maintained its, fun, because I was very clear about one thing: I'm celebrating these women. I'm not telling a sad
Hmm.
story about, the repression, or I'm telling a story which celebrates the spirit of these women who survived this. And I'm also very, very empathetic to the women, to the men who are not being addressed and who need equal amount of healing from the conditioning, because it's difficult being that man in that society with that conditioning too, equally. So yeah, that's how Parched happened.
I'm glad you said that because all three of you, while your films do have a powerful empowerment message, they don't beat you on the head with it. If you know what I mean. So it's
So,
not that.
what Leena said is that there's a little experience. So I went for an ad film shoot to a very similar kind of place. And so I was not shooting the ad film. I was a writer of the film when I was in advertising. And there were a whole lot of women who suddenly just pulled me and took me into a room and closed the door in the house. So I was like, okay, very sweet women there. And they said that, so the one who's shooting is your husband and you've just joined your husband here, no, today? I said, no, he's my colleague and I'm the writer of this film. So I've just come to work. I said, oh, so you're married? I said, yes, I'm married. Oh, so you're married and your husband is allowing you to go with another guy to come here and see the shoot. And he said, do you have kids? I said, yeah, I have 2 kids. I said, oh, so you left your kids also and then you're going with this man and shooting you. So, but then, so I was smiling, and then this one woman very proudly said that, you know what, I want to tell you something. My daughter, she goes to Delhi every day. She's doing her B.Ed, Bachelor of Education, and she's going to be a teacher. And she morning she goes, and the evening she comes back. And I'm very proud of her. She said it with so much of empathy, and I was like, uh, what Leena said, it's only the conditioning and it's what you put out there. Yeah.
So moving to Tannishtha, now your directorial debut, Rome Rome, and God hopes there'll be plenty more. And we've had this discussion briefly elsewhere, but I want you to expand on it. Now, the one thing that struck me when I watched the film is that everybody talks about the Italian Renaissance in terms of Michelangelo, Da Vinci, the usual old white men scenario. But Rome Rome for me was a real eye opener because it looked at the Italian Renaissance from the point of view of women artists. Until I saw Rome Rome, I didn't even know that the Renaissance had women artists, and if there were, they've been, subjugated, hidden out of sight. So, Tanisha, do you want to tell us how you found out about these artists, how you came across them, and how you incorporated them into the story? I'll just give you a brief about the story because the film hasn't been seen widely apart from a couple of film festivals, and hopefully she's on the verge of a major OTT deal, giving away nothing. It's about Nawazuddin Siddiqui is a man in Delhi who's again conditioned to think in a certain way, and Tanishta is his sister, right?
Yes.
Who disappears one day, and then she's spotted in Rome, and the rest of the film is about Nawaz's experiences in Rome trying to find his sister, and Tanishta herself plays a character who flits in and out like a ghost. Is she a ghost? Is she alive? Is she dead? We don't know. Watch the film. So, Tanishta.
So when I thought of Rome Rome, I wanted to make a film about women, but like as Leena said that, to shake something inside a man to question everything that, the patriarchy puts the pressures on women. And therefore, the protagonist of the film is a man. And through his search, he is realizing his own deep rooted patriarchal ideas. He realizes how similar he is to his father, but he thought he wasn't. He realizes a lot of things about his relationship with his fiance, with women, with his sister, and what his sister wanted in life and who she actually was. And that, the suppression of so many things that was pent up within her, and that why she wanted to break free and why she wanted to become a ghost. Better be a ghost than live in that reality, so you've seen the film, Naman. It starts very real and it goes into dreams and surreal and all those spaces as well. So yes, Rome for me is an important character because as far as modern feminism is concerned, of course, we have a lot of literature in ancient world which we can't really corroborate in terms of like historical evidence, from our epics or from the literature that we find that they were really wonderfully evolved and empowered women. But as far as the evolution of modern feminism goes in the world, it actually started in Italy during the Renaissance. And while I was traveling, I realized that, and all the fantastic courtesans and musicians, poets, artists who had immense contribution. And a lot of them, one of the characters in my film, Artemisia Gentileschi, she redefined a lot of the biblical myths that were actually painted by male artists, and got a lot of brickbats during her times, for the reinterpretation. It's only in the 1920s that they got re-explored and it came into the public eye, but they are still famous only within the Italians and not. The world doesn't know Artemisia Gentileschi as much as they know Michelangelo or Rembrandt. So as a woman, it was really inspiring for me to have Rome as that character, that this woman. And I wanted to make a universal statement because it's not only about Indian women. This happens in every part of the world and it still happens. And therefore I didn't want to just set it in, it's an Indian family, but I wanted to sort of cross those boundaries and go to the genesis of that movement, where the first feminist protest happened as far as written history is concerned. And it was in Rome at the Forum, where women protested against a law which restricted them from possessing expensive goods. And Nawaz in many ways finds a glimpse of his sister there, painting something. So these are, it's, it was my tribute to all those women through history that have actually contributed so much, and as an artist as well, to give us this platform today that, we all can stand here, sit here and talk and make our films and tell our stories and, become doctors, pilots, anything that we want to. Like we do have the freedom today. Many of us do. And so for me, it was a kind of a tribute to all those women, and I wanted to start there, where the genesis is, where it started. It all started. So yeah, the idea was basically, it came from there.
So it's a general question for all three of you. Now, you reach your audiences in different ways. Like Ashwiny, you've had, and Leena, you've both had the benefit of reaching audiences through a regular cinema release, and that world is obviously changing rapidly, especially this year because of the coronavirus. And Tannishtha, your theatrical release has been cut short because of or hasn't happened because of this reason. So what's the best way, in your opinion, to reach your audience? Because you make your films in a certain way, and now you have to think of, are you watching it on a 5-inch phone or a 65-inch television or a giant cinema or on an Oculus virtual reality set. So, as filmmakers, how do you address? I mean, this is a question for any filmmaker, really. In this day and age, how do you address of the question of how do you reach your audience, and does your filmmaking change accordingly?
I think if when you're creating the content, if you know that okay, this is the format or that's the screen size that is going to be accessible to the audience, then you're thinking like that. I mean, I of course when I made Roommates, I made it for the cinemas. I mean, it's not only about the visuals, but it's also the soundscape, the design, everything was meant. I mean, it's my first film, so I wanted to make a film for the cinema. But having said that, I think a lot of films which also run in the theaters finally get their viewership on smaller screens. And even before the corona, that had slowly started becoming the reality. And so now I think after corona, it's, I mean, we don't know when would we have those theaters again and those audiences back. But I guess in a way, it's good that we can reach out to the audiences as far as the storytelling is concerned. And I think what's happening is that the medium and the way we are telling the stories are going to change, because that's the big screen has a very different impact, and when we are making content for the big screen, we think differently, and the smaller screen has a different sort of an impact. So yeah, I think the thought has to be different.
I made a transition to like OTT with Rajma Chawal because it was released as a Netflix original. So I didn't have a theatrical. It was quite a transition for me because just a day before the release, I almost felt like there is no physical release. And, I've kind of lost the film and it's just gone into this cloud and it's just disappeared. But big lesson learned, because I don't think I've had so many of my friends across the world watch it within 48 hours. The accessibility, so I embrace that completely. And the thing is that I don't know whether my content will change, honestly, whether it's for small screen or big screen. I still will make cinema, and I think it belongs everywhere, because I don't think that changes. The only thing that for me that I felt that will have to be addressed is attention span. Because with a mobile or a computer, you can move away. You don't have the audience captive. So the threat of the fact that any minute they can move out of your content, I think is the only thing that I have like processed and I have kind of kept with me based on this. But I embrace this because I feel like this is the future.
So basically, I look at it this way, is that you have stories and you need to say it, and you need an audience to see your films, and that's what gives a high to storytellers. Whether I'll take my own little experience, is that whether it was a Nilbate Sonata, which is a fairly small film, but it had a big heart. And the amount of love I've got for that film, I don't think so I would have got that kind of love even so after making so many films. So for me, it is a love. So the love, whether if you get it in a theater or whether you get it in an online platform where everyone is coming and telling you that, we saw this film, the amount of people who have called me and told me that they love any of the films, whether it's Bareilly Ki Barfi or Nilbate Sonata, or even for that matter Panga, which was released during the pandemic and got highest reach only when it came onto the online platform, is phenomenal. So that love for a filmmaker is what I seek for. Is that ultimately you just want love from your audience. That's what we seek for, and whatever you're communicating has to go to your audience and it has to reach their audience. If you release it and no one comes to watch it, and they only come to watch it when it comes on online, then what is the use? What is the purpose of us making films? So I look at it this way, because the kind of stories I say, I just want my audience to hear it and see it. But the things are changing. From an individual viewing, which we thought OTT platforms has become a more group viewing. Is because in every household there's maybe only one or two TVs, and everyone watches cinema together now because they're not going to have individual accounts and keep watching on their laptops and everywhere unless they really want to do it as an individual viewing. But the group viewing has increased, so the kind of storytelling which is happening now on OTT platforms has also changed. So so that's what it is. So from saying that we can only say certain kind of stories for OTT where the independence of making films is far higher is because you're not restricted with what kind of age group you're talking about for watching your cinema. That has changed. That has opened up. So you can see all kinds of stories, and for whoever you're saying it, an audience is coming and watching it. And the audience you don't want to watch it doesn't watch that film of yours. So I feel that this change which is coming in for a filmmaker, for a storyteller, is far more superior, is because you have the whole sky of stories to say, not thinking how you going to say it. The only missing factor is that when you go into a theater and when you see a whole lot of audience cheering for your film or laughing aloud, that physical touch of watching your audience watching the film is what I may miss, having seen both, because all the three films of mine four films of mine have released in theaters, but I have made some few short films which have only gone online. But I have realized that the love which I've got is unanimous when it came online also.
Right.
So that's what it is. And we should be open for change. There's also one more thing I would like to say. There's something called event films. Now, like Tannishtha said that, if you're having huge VFX and you're having like huge music and background score and everything, that viewing in a theater with your Dolby systems and with your huge landscape is far more superior than watching it on your laptop or your mobile phones. I mean, that would be doing injustice to the kind of film you're making and to the kind of...
It's like live performance versus recording. I mean, for some films, it's like when you're watching a live performance, of course, when you're hearing a piece of music in the recording, it's also beautiful. But a live performance is a live performance. I mean, that's where, we have to embrace the change. And like everyone has said, and I also said that, many of these films actually get their viewership on these platforms only, not when they're released in the theaters. But the cinema and theater, it's a live performance, and this is a recording. There is a difference.
One more thing, Naman, as creators, I don't know how each, maybe because my art direction, this comes out there, is that I do not know what is the computer screen or a TV screen looking like for in households, So sometimes the colors are so bright and they're all gone. The music is loud and the dialogue can't be heard, is because we operated on a cinema, right? We make everything for cinema, and then when it goes to the households, I myself am sometimes shocked, thinking that this is not so loud. Why is the music so loud and why the dialogue so less? So that is something which we have to. You have to live with it as creators and just say, okay, peace. Now this is what it is.
Because another thing, I'm so finicky about the grading, the aesthetics, and because you're watching it in the lab and it looks perfect, it looks what we have aspired for, and then you watch it on somebody's television screen. I'm like, my God, what happened there? The sound, the color grading, everything is just completely off.
It is like my God. Sorry, yeah, Leena. Sorry.
Another experience that I had is that the way a film communicates to a person, the individual viewing versus the community viewing, is very, very different. And it's really interesting. I mean, the way films are reviewed when they are watched So it's a very personal relationship with the film. I found a huge difference because I've discussed my film with people who watched it in a theater. Though personally, I would go any day for the community viewing because I love that collective energy and that collective laughter, the collective sigh in the theater. But I also respect that there are a lot of people who much more enjoy and engage in a personal experience with the film. So, I mean, I think that's a really interesting thing. And I think that's where the variety of narratives will also come from, because you will form really personal relationships with your viewers through the content.
Let's talk about film festivals. Now, how do you think a film festival helps your film reach a wider international audience? For any of you?
Because it's, you know, it's a selected thing in this very, very limited kind of a selection from across the world. And you have audiences who are, you know, who come there to watch films. They are film buffs. They are, so the awareness of the film begins over there, especially for a film which does not get defined as a commercial, prospect. I think it's a great platform to start off with and start a buzz about the film. But that again is something which is in transition and it's redefining itself in so many interesting ways. I mean, that's the experience that I've had with Parched and limitedly with Rajma Chawal, which also got launched at London International Film Festival. But it's that first spark of the film, which otherwise a film like that will just like not have. So I think it's an extremely important platform for too many reasons. Just meeting filmmakers, having that community there for that, you know, concentrated amount of time where you're talking, living, eating, breathing films. You're engaging with other filmmakers. There's dialogue. There is exchange. I think it's like fuel. It's therapy and fuel in so many ways for filmmakers.
I completely agree with Leena. I think film festivals, because it's a selection, it gives you a validation amongst, you know, so many films that are made in the world, that there is certain amount of quality and appreciation that you have sort of achieved. And then being in the festival audiences also, you know, they tend to be more sophisticated. The discussions, the Q&A, you know, filmmaker really lives for that, especially when you're making a film which is not like, you know, the mainstream. So the reviews, the audience acceptance, the Q&As, meeting artists and filmmakers and storytellers from the rest of the world, looking at the trends that are like really happening. It's a fantastic event, and I think it does give a lot to the film. And I mean, I completely agree with Leena that spark where people say that, this film.
So for me, I really miss the spark of Nilbate Sannada and the experience of Nilbate Sannada going across all festivals. Because I've made both the kinds, and the joy which you get from a Bareilly Ki Barfi, which is a full-on commercial film, and that joy is very different, is because you know that you're making it only for that joy. But if I ask, what is my purpose of storytelling and what is the purpose of joy which I get? The joy which I got out of making The New Classmate, Nilbate Sannada, or that was far more superior for me, is because there I'm there at London Film Festival, and the film is along with The Room, where I get to interact with the director of Room, you know. So it's so nice, is because you're getting to see a whole lot of different kinds of films. You're interacting with like-minded people, like Leena and Tannishtha said, and the joy that, what is my purpose? My purpose is to make good films which will reach out and which would say a story. But then again, there was a catch there in Nilbate Sannada, is because that film released also in theaters here, and it had an in-between thing. So I remember that point of time being asked, what do you call this film, you know? Because we call sometimes festival film and, you know, commercial film, and I don't know. So I coined a term called midstream film. Let it just keep it there. Midstream film. how you have the middle road. This is a middle stream film. So barring all the songs which I took off, because when you're going to the festivals we don't put that, but I still kept a song there. But I miss that, and hopefully I want to make more of Nilbate, more of the new classmates, because the joy in which you get to see different kinds of filmmakers and knowledge gaining is far more superior. That you're talking cinema, you're talking breathing, living cinema. And then sometimes you start losing the core of why you got into making films. Because when you're making a hardcore commercial film, after your film is no more yours, after a point, then it is gone. It is everyone else who's taking care of that film, and it's no more your ownness. But with films like Nilbate Sonata, it lives for the archives, like all our films which has gone into the festivals. There's a joy there, and it is still your film. It is not. Let me be very honest. It's not about how much money it earned in the theaters.
Right.
I don't think anyone has ever asked me what was the budget of the film or what did it earn in the theaters. No one has ever asked me after 5 years also. So.
That's because they have all been profitable.
I have no idea. But the thing is that I feel that is important. Yeah.
So we have time for one last question. So let's bring it as we are at the Toronto International Film Festival. Leena, specifically, what has been your experience with the Toronto Film Festival? It's one of the world's largest festivals. And as a corollary to that, how has it been interacting with Canadian audiences and the Indian diaspora in Toronto?
I think Toronto is and will always be very, very, very special to me, because for me it was like my rebirth as a filmmaker, to be very honest. I think the reaction that I got for Parched there, which is, I think me and my husband put in everything making that film. It really made me feel like I was born again and okay, I can make films, because Parched came out of a space of not knowing whether I wanted to do films anymore. So it made me fly, and the audience there was so amazing. I mean, I haven't seen housefuls of such cinema educated and such passionate audiences anywhere, including the Indian diaspora in Toronto. From intellectual to like all kinds of, and the Q&As there, I think actually were therapy for me. Just being able to be asked the questions that I wanted people to ask. They asked me all the questions I wanted to be asked. So, I mean, it's a very, very, very special festival for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and interacting with the Indian diaspora?
Interacting with the Indian diaspora, there was really, really amazing. I think I had Q&As long beyond the Q&As finished within the theaters there. I mean, just seeing the queues of people wanting to buy tickets overnight, waiting in the cold. I think it was so beautiful. And I said, I want to belong to a community that is like, feels this way about films. And I think my connection with Tiff began with Cameron Bailey. And I think there onwards, it just was the most amazing experience for me, and started a journey which became more and more amazing as we went along. But Toronto was the start for me in a lot of ways.
I think that's the best way to bring this discussion to a close. Thank you all, three of you. And for those who are listening in or watching, this is the first in a series of three looking at some incredible women in Indian cinema. And thank you to ARRA Arts and the Consul General of India in Canada. And thank you to Red Carpet Motion Pictures and Sanjay Bhutiani. A big thanks to our sponsors, the Trans Emerge Group of companies. Thank you.